The life after wrestling can be tricky for a wrestler leaving the spotlight for the first time. Normal life is a hard concept for many people to get their heads around, never mind talents that get used to the public eye attention and lavish lifestyle that's thrust upon them, especially for former WWE superstars. After all, wrestling doesn't have many similar jobs, so those planning their next moves, it can lead to constant stories of wrestlers ending, going back into, and then re-ending their retirements over and over again. An unrelated picture of Terry Funk here. Names such as John Cena, The Rock and Batista are exceptions to this rule, however, as they've managed to find huge success in Hollywood. Most wrestlers will have to live a quiet life though, and they do get used to it if they stop this wrestling regularly. The rare names to effectively do that will risk being forgotten, whether that be for better or for worse. Each of the following names adjusted to normal lives after leaving the industry. Welcome to Honor Wrestling Club, and in today's video we'll be counting down 10 wrestling legends who left the wrestling industry and carried on with perfectly normal lives. Before we crack on with the list though, I'd just like to welcome you to Honor Wrestling Club, and if you enjoy what you see here today, don't forget to hit that like button, share the video with your friends and subscribe for more awesome content. Welcome to the club. Now, without further ado, let's crack on with the list with number 10, Sid Vicious, who is an overlooked former world champion. Sid managed to become a former WCW and WWE world champion and main event 2 WrestleManias. However, following an infamous injury in WCW, his run as a top star came to an end. The infamous leg injury that Sid Vicious suffered in WCW in the year 2000 ended his full-time wrestling career as a top star. Sid returned to wrestling a few years later on the independent circuit and had a few cameo appearances in WWE, most notably in 2012 against Heath Slater. Sid's wrestling career, however, officially ended in 2017, with the big man wrestling his final match that year. Now, Sid enjoys a normal life away from the spotlight and is rarely seen today. In at number 9, we have Beulah McGillicuddy, who left wrestling for the opposite career path. Paul Heyman made Beulah McGillicuddy into one of the most popular and important female performers on the ECW roster. However, fans were surprised, shall we say, when Beulah was written off screen for good following a 3D finishing move from the Dudley Boys, which gave the brothers from Dudleyville nuclear heel heat. Beulah married Tommy Dreamer and they would have a family together in real life to mirror their previous on-screen relationship. A new career path saw her writing children's books and becoming successful in a new field drastically different from professional wrestling. In number 8 we have Bob Holly, whose life now focuses on his previous WWE gimmick. Holly enjoys a quiet life after being an aggressive backstage presence within WWE. Following his release in 2008 after a long run in the Big Fed, Bob Holly would take inspiration from a previous WWE gimmick and would dedicate his time to his passion for automobiles. WWE made Bob Holly into one of the most long-tenured wrestlers on the roster as a respected veteran. Holly, though, was rarely pushed, save for a brief world title run in 2004, but he developed a backstage reputation as a locker room leader, or a bully depending on who you ask. The veteran would continue wrestling on the independent circuit for a few years before he would phase away from the industry. Holly revealed that he lives a quiet life now with his family and spends his free time working on cars to play into his driving background and his previous gimmick of Sparky Plug in WWE. In at number 7 we have Kimberly Page, who left wrestling forever after WCW. Kimberly Page would want out of WCW following a dangerous situation with Scott Steiner, and she would never return to the world of professional wrestling outside of rare autograph conventions. Kimberly Page was the most popular female character on WCW television for years. The end of her WCW career came due to controversial Scott Steiner promos and a fight between Steiner and her then husband Diamond Dallas Page. Wrestling would become the past for Kimberly though, as she would move into various other fields. Kimberly and Page would remain friends following their divorce though, but it was clear that we never see her in wrestling again. Kimberly lives a normal life with her current partner in Utah, working in interior design and marketing. In number 6, we have Chuck Palumbo, who lives a quiet life following the end of his WWE tenure. Chuck Palumbo's skills enough to make him a tag team champion, and Palumbo probably would have been a bigger star in WCW had the promotion lasted longer. But in WWE's deeper roster, he struggled to have a long-term role, outside of a fairly entertaining run with Billy Gunn. The Last Push as a biker tapped into Palumbo's real passion though. Unfortunately, that character would flop, and he would end his WWE run for good. Palumbo now has mostly worked with cars and motorcycles since he left wrestling. Some projects were on television and YouTube, including a lower-level reality show for fixing bikes, but he's transitioned into a quieter life since then. In number 5, we have Tori Wilson's fitness journey has continued away from WWE. However, she still does make the occasional cameo appearance in WWE. Following some physical health issues, she left wrestling in her prime. However, when she does appear again in 4 cameos in WWE, she gets a hero's welcome. Now, WWE witnessed Tori Wilson become one of the most popular female performers in company history. Wilson was marketed heavily in the Ruthless Aggression era and was a beloved superstar who got great reactions from fans. Today, Tori shares her passion for fitness in various projects without a huge spotlight on her. Wilson has made a handful of returns when WWE uses legends, most notably in a couple of the Women's Royal Rumble matches, and the audience still greets her with a huge ovation in these moments. In number 4, we have Tito Santana, who became a school teacher following him leaving the professional wrestling business. Santana, though, has recently retired from teaching, which puts an end to a second successful career for Santana. The Golden Era saw Tito Santana become an underrated star that added to the WWE roster depth. He was quite underrated, in fact. He had the first match on the first ever WrestleMania. Vince McMahon pushed Tito Santana as a Latino sensation whilst the company expanded. Most old school fans will recognise Santana's importance. As we've already mentioned, he was part of the first ever match on the first ever WrestleMania and got the first ever win. But he had to retire after his prime ended and independent shows became a harder schedule. Santana became a beloved Spanish teacher in New Jersey for many years, until recently retiring at the age of 70. However, you can still see the Latin sensation on cameo. In number 3, we have Deborah, who has completely put wrestling behind her following her leaving WWE. Deborah went back to school to find a new career path and a new journey. Following her divorce with Stone Cold, she would leave WWE and decided to put wrestling behind her by dedicating her time to school, where she would get a master's degree in science. Both WCW and WWE saw Deborah become a popular manager during the Monday Night Wars in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Deborah would rarely wrestle in the ring, but her charisma helped make her a standout performer for a few years, and her being married to Stone Cold. The controversial WWE firing saw her going back to college and restarting her life well away from the spotlight. Deborah would receive a master's degree after many years in school and does lots of work in her local community. In number 2, we have Rick Steiner, who left wrestling when Scott stayed to enjoy singles success. When Rick left WCW, he had a career change, and it led to him becoming a real estate agent. So unfortunately, when the Steiner brothers split up, Rick was unable to follow the same path as his brother Scott. And when WCW ended, nobody came a-calling for Rick, and he would move into real estate, with the odd wrestling return here or there, most notably in NXT to support his son Bron Breakker. WCW going out of business saw most established wrestlers continuing their careers, but Rick Steiner was one of the names to make a bigger change. Real estate became the next career path for Steiner in his state of Georgia. TNA and other promotions would occasionally tempt Rick for a short Steiner Brothers tag team reunion in the 2000s, but he eventually left wrestling in the past. Rick does appear at conventions, and he made terrible headlines for alleged transphobic comments against TNA Knockout star Giselle Shaw. As we've already mentioned, he did appear in NXT a handful of times to help his son Bron. And at number 1, we have Sable, who has intentionally stayed away from the spotlight. Once her second WWE run came to an end, Sable would disappear from wrestling pretty much for good. However, she was seen with Brock during his time in the UFC and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Sable was considered the most successful female character in WWE history during her push in the Attitude Era, and up until that point she most definitely was the most popular. WWE realised that she had a massive draw on her own and gave her a lot of television time to develop the fan following. Life after wrestling, however, would see Sable marry Brock Lesnar when both would leave the promotion in the Ruthless Aggression era. The couple raises their children on a farm in Canada, but Sable is never seen anymore. WWE Town have even been told not to mention her in Hall of Fame speeches, with the former WWE Women's Champion wanting to live a private life. And there you have it, there's our list. So what did you think? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Who surprised you the most that they've stepped away from the world of professional wrestling? And who would you like to see come out of their enjoyment of retirement, if they want to, for one final appearance? However, I'd just like to thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure that you give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to Honor Wrestling Hub for more videos like this in the future. And don't forget to check out our previous content. Go on, you'll love them. However, until next time, I'd just like to thank you for watching, and welcome to the club.